2023 was truly the year of the revival, a comeback year in every sense of the phrase. I felt this desire to capture greatness again. Not just from me, but others too. People everywhere were emerging from their hidey holes, originally set by the pandemic, and restaking their claims on a world that felt new. It was like the humans coming back to Earth and WALL-E. There was this feeling that we were all getting in touch with our roots again, coming home to where it all started and the gold was originally found, but also now there was a thirst for bold reinvention, rule bending, and boundary pushing. It took a minute, but this was the first year things started to feel true and fun again. Just getting up and striking that balance between vintage and novel seems like a totally impossible task, but artists were doing it. Revisiting what works, but using the heart behind why it works to make it work in a whole new, totally different way. Okay, last time recapping this, but people still might not know. In 2020, I wrote for a blog where I posted my top 15 or so best albums of the year, and I did that every year until 2024 when I made a video version, which I liked a lot better format-wise. So this is the final one I have to remake, and I'm excited to be caught up. Yay. Alright, now that that's over with, back to 2023. I think a lot of people felt like they had a second life to live now. Look, it might not be your favorite year, and I think I've actually encountered a few people by now who hate it. It's whack to them. But I did notice, at least in my experience, that a certain fire was back in society. Come on, look at these clips playing right here. Does this bring back memories? Any fond ones to you? Maybe this one? No? It was a time, that's for sure. Okay, maybe you thought Doomsday was coming any day and the aliens were already here and you couldn't really get down with the Ice Spice Dun-Dun verse. But there must be something that you find redeeming about the year. Sorry, this isn't music related, but Barbenheimer, for instance. That was such a phenomenon. It was so fresh and revitalizing to experience that with everybody. I think the fear was subsiding in a lot of people. They were letting their guard down and seizing the opportunity to be free and go out again and enjoy life. Shit, man, I know I was. And what's even better is I had these artists here on this list scoring my journey. So here we go. Let's get after it with the honorable mentions. I'd hate to not bring up Jane Remover in one of these videos. Census Designated is less noisy and chaotic and more rock-centered, very reflective, atmospheric, and ominous. People think this is the weakest in Jane's discography, but I disagree. I love it even more after revisiting it for this list. Joey Valence and Bray make their debut as a duo with Punk Tactics. They revitalize mid-school hip-hop like Frankenstein and show that off with such silliness and angst. Another one, don't dog on me here, guys, Travis Scott's Utopia. It was pretty good. Not great, but I was getting down to a lot of songs off this. It had a ton of hype to live up to, and it's crazy that it did a decent job following up Astroworld. 100 gecs returned with 10,000 gecs, super wacky and noisy. It's like if you crammed every single part of a child's birthday party into one bounce house. An overload of fun and ridiculousness. Okay, number 15, leading the list off, is one I wish I could rank higher. Vordir by Earl Sweatshirt and The Alchemist. This could and should have been a classic. They fumbled so hard with extra bullshit surrounding this that it ruined what was actually a great record. Let me explain for those who might not be aware. This is a long-awaited collaboration album. Earl and Uncle Al here have worked together frequently, but they'd never actually dropped a full-on joint venture. So with all the hype built up to this from Earl fans and the sheer talent of both artists in their respective fields, this should have been a slam dunk album of the year contender. Unfortunately, it was issued to the public in almost the lamest way imaginable as like an NFT type thing. During Earl's legendary Can't Flog Na performance in 2019, which, might I add, is one of the greatest sets in the festival's history, by the way, he previewed some masterpieces that we'd eventually see here. Earl does this other somewhat lame thing and performs unreleased songs at his shows and then never releases them. He was even asked about doing this during an interview one time, and he said that they may just never come out. Why get us all excited then? I'm still waiting for tracks like Head Heavy, Homebound, Albatross, Shrooms, Foodies, I Be Outside, and an entire album's worth of others. The fan base rejoiced when the guys did apologize for their stupid blockchain bullshit and putting it on streaming finally. Surely this went smoothly though, right? No. The major fan favorite songs, literally all of them, were kept off the project. I'm assuming due to some sort of sample clearance issues, but if there was one of those instances, they never came out and said it. I don't think they still have. We did get some really solid new ones featuring Vince Staples, but still. Sorry I'm not talking about the music much for this segment. It still pisses me off, and my therapist won't let me talk about it any longer. But yeah, is this video running long? Put them on streaming under a deluxe release or something, guys. There's still time. I love you both. I'm putting my favorite tracks down here as the missing ones, not just because I'm being petty, but because I'm not lying when I say they're the best ones. Thank God for local files, Apple Music, Spotify, there's a way to do both. Thank God for YouTube. Fuck NFTs. That being said, this album's really good. Some of the best stuff from both of them. Alright, sorry about that. I know that was long for number 15, but number 14 will be super easy, and god damn it, it's the album with the sentence for a title. Did you know there's a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard? Lana Del Rey. I used to sort of hate Lana Del Rey. She was cringe. But who am I to call something from that era cringe? I mean, this is the peak of edgelord comedy. I ate that shit up, so I really don't have a right to talk. I definitely liked a few of her songs, which maybe are considered normie masterpieces. Born to Die, Young and Beautiful, or Summertime Sadness. She was more of a guilty pleasure from time to time for me. I wouldn't really consider myself a fan of any of her extended bodies of work until Norman fucking Rockwell came out, or NFR. This ended up being one of my favorite LPs for all of 2019. I still bump that to this day, and find this release here to be her best work since. Chemtrails Over the Country Club and Blue Banisters were solid, but not worth really discussing on my 2021 list. But this project captures more of exactly what I love about Lana's music. Maybe I also have a soft spot for it because it's a vintage sounding ode to the Long Beach legend of the Juergens Tunnel, one I've been around and also wanted to sneak into on many occasions. For those that don't know, I've lived in Long Beach for the last 10 years, so I'm quite familiar with this. Anyways, there's a lot of adjectives I could use to describe this: tender, sweet, magical, whimsical, longing, and most importantly, fresh. As soon as I feel like I'm getting tired or bored, it's like she knows exactly what to do and when to do it, because the song will suddenly add another vibrant layer or switch up entirely with the pacing. Lana continues to innovate here and thematically includes a lot of Christian/spiritual elements in the swing of things. It reminds me of an infinitely gentler Sinner Get Ready by Lingua Ignota. My only complaint is that it's kind of long. Lana's voice is already so soothing that I find myself falling asleep by the back half, where there aren't as many attention grabbers. Transcendental moments here, though. I gotta say that. I don't want to undersell this. Just so mellow and sensual. Number 13 is actually number 40 in Italian. Quaranta by Danny Brown. You get the sense that this dude has the wisdom of a 40-year-old by now, on the spiritual successor to Triple X. It's a soft meditation on everything he's been through, and a reflection of what life is like as a grizzled veteran of a pretty rocky life. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but it wasn't something this emotionally heartfelt and raw. A majority of the track list is Danny being incredibly real, vulnerable, and sharing some dark realities about his personal life and upbringing. I know as soon as I heard the first 2 or so minutes of this album that we were in for something much more harrowing than usual. I do want to add that what many people consider to be his magnum opus, including myself, Atrocity Exhibition in 2016, is just as personal, and was far, far more deranged and hellish. It was honest in a I'm at rock bottom, I need help sort of way. We don't get that flavor here. It's super mellow, aside from a couple of the zanier tracks like Tantor. Danny really lays his feelings out with just about everything in such a concise way. The sound of the record only gets drearier as you go on, though. You get some of Danny's most genius wordplay on these as well. It's weird to say that Danny's underrated. I think he should be on pretty much everybody's top rapper list if you're making a top rapper list. It's stuff like this that reminds you of that. Anyways, I think that this is one of the best of his discography. That's about as much as I have to say. If you know me somewhat well, you won't be surprised to see me talk about Danny again a little bit later down the line in this video, so sit tight for now. Number 12 is another rap record. Sorry guys, it's Burning Desire from Mike. He's back in his bag. Weight of the World finished near the top of my 2020 list, but outside of a few singles, I haven't quite heard anything as alive from him since. That is, until now. Burning Desire feels just like that, with energy across the board from the raps to the beats. As always, Mike is on top of his sample game with some really satisfying and classic loops that take on a life of their own in your ears and stick around for hours after they've been done playing. I love when Mike raps over what sounds like old shopping mall music. Shit's tight, makes me happy. One aspect I feel sets Burning Desire apart is just how much punch it has, whether it be in the eccentric sample selection, the varying length of individual songs, and how they transition into one another, or the use of drums that feel like they otherwise might not have been there on previous Mike projects. The drums come in on these songs and allow Mike opportunities to switch up his flow, which leads to a more dynamic listening journey for us. He truly glides over these types of instrumentals, and I feel these are his absolute best showings as an artist. It's got some ultra satisfying earworms that I could rewind again for hours. And yeah, you'll be levitating by the time you make your way through such a diverse track list. He always seems to hit home with me when it comes to the writing. I find his outlook on life often coincides with mine. So instead of me prattling on about the best verses, just go listen for yourself. Number 11 is going to go to Kali Uchis's Red Moon and Venus. Easily my favorite album of hers to date. I've never been able to form a connection to her music that well. I remember giving her most popular work, Isolation, a shot back in 2018, but I was mostly indifferent toward it. I still kind of am. Red Moon and Venus, however, is the closest thing I can compare to what Siren's song must sound like, because this just totally sucked me into some kind of trance. Kali's vocals are almost always decked in these layers of reverb, and the production is so ethereal sounding that it's hard to call this album nothing short of hypnotic. We get some nice features too, from Omar Apollo to Don Toliver, Summer Walker. Sometimes musically this sounds like something Tyler the Creator would have produced, because it has those same buzzy keys in the background that you'd find on something like Flower Boy. It's got that same type of essence to the whole project, really. There's more of a dreamy cinematicness to this, but it's got similarities, so if you like that album, maybe you'll like this. Kali feels like she's about to burst out of a great fairy fountain or something. It's wonderful, captivating stuff, and makes me want to put on a sequin suit and drive into the night with zero cares. I'm glad I came around on her. She's a lovely artist that I hope to enjoy more of in the future. At the number 10 spot is a welcome comeback, Paramore. This Is Why. Hard to say Hayley Williams and Paramore weren't some of the faces defining my early teenage years. Takes me back to Riley in middle school, time I'd like to forget, like most people. But unfortunately, this period is somewhat burned into my head. I was in the midst of puberty, silly bands, RAR XD, these haircuts. I wasn't huge on this band or anything back then, and most of their work sounds, not my favorite nowadays, but I just remember hearing them all over the place. It was on my playlist with like fucking Usher's OMG and Tayo Cruz Dynamite. You know, the classic hits like Misery Business and Ain't It Fun are still nostalgic jams that I don't mind hearing every so often. When I heard that Paramore was back with a new album and that it was good, I knew I had to check it out for myself. And yeah, this kicks ass. Like I was saying in my intro to the whole video, they managed to recapture the energy that worked for them, make us say, good times about it, and still bring in a fresh 2023 sound. This Is Why doesn't miss too often. Actually, there's not a whole lot of skips. Each song is crafted so cleanly, and all of them contain climactic elements where everything comes together and provides genuine satisfaction. There are so many bits that make me say hell yeah, and they give you exactly what you came for, in my opinion. The Big Man, Little Dignity, You First, and Figure 8 stretch gotta be up there in my favorite 3-track runs all year, maybe ever. The instrumentation throughout this project is so much more than just a refreshing guitar segment and some refrains, which there are many of, but just smart song structure. There isn't a poorly written bridge or pre-chorus here. Hayley Williams brings a furious, emotionally charged performance across all 36 minutes of a very tight listen. And the band as a whole proves they've been doing this for a long time and know how to make rewarding experiences for whoever wants to be a part of it. Plus, this might be their best work yet, in my opinion. If you like this, maybe check out their remix, This Is Why, too, which is just more excuses to bring the house down in different ways. Who better to revive post-dance punk than the people who ran that shit back in the day? Number 9 is taking me to Cloud 9 with McKinley Dixon on Beloved Paradise Jazz. This is the obligatory thank you to Fantano, who I would not have found this without. You might really not hear anything so ambitious all year. This is marching band rap. It's thunderous and dominant. It's as musically vibrant as it is lyrically sharp. I was keen to recognize how this entire project pays tribute to Toni Morrison, maybe one of my favorite writers ever. The title is a reference to 3 novels in a critically acclaimed trilogy by her. Beloved, specifically, might be the best book I've ever read. The tone-setting sequence is actually an excerpt from Jazz, which has an eeriness to it that alludes to the many conflicting parts that make up the whole, like jazz music, you know? Anyway, yeah, Dixon has a lot he wants to cover here, and he ties it up nicely with the freeform, majestic jazz concert aesthetic. This album feels like you're watching a live performance that's totally stacked, but then you snap out of it and you realize you're just, I don't know, driving in your car or walking down the street. It has zero business being so catchy sometimes. I get some of my favorite songs down here stuck in my head constantly. Anyways, yeah, where was I? Beloved Paradise Jazz here feels like an odyssey, considering it's just about 30 minutes. It's the coolest time, honestly. If you're looking for a succinct, ball-out rap showing, this might be the best you find. I'll be giving number 8 to Armand Hammer's We Buy Diabetic Test Strips. This is dystopian rap, if I've ever heard it. It takes their previous work Shrines, which made my 2020 list, and somehow makes it sound even more like a nightmare. In classic Armand Hammer fashion, this album just gets better and better the deeper you dive into it. On my first listen, I was constantly saying, that was one of the best yet, after each song ended. The beats on this, don't even get me started on those, they're just bizarre. That word doesn't even really do it justice, but I'll try to wrap my head around it again a bit later. These two guys are some of the best writers in the underground, and they're back again with maybe some of their most cutting-edge verses yet. Also, they haven't lost their trademark dark humor. Woods and Elucid are even bleaker and funnier than they've ever been. The second track is literally titled Woke Up and Ask Siri How I'm Gonna Die, which also has some JPEG Mafia production on it, by the way. Glad to see there's no beef anymore. Can't have my favorites at odds like this. Anyways, there are various lines on this LP that had me doing spit takes or burying my face in my hands. Might fuck around and say Suge Knight 3 times in the mirror, or break up with me, I'm a G, I'll stay friends with your mother, to name a few. Yeah, so Diabetic Test Strips here. It is, without a doubt, their absolute best project to date. This will be many people's album of the year, and I was even considering it for mine. In fact, there's certain days you'll catch me saying this is even better than the next album on this list. You thought we were done talking about Billy Woods. Nah, man. At number 7 is his effort with Kenny Siegel, Maps. I called Billy Woods one of the best contemporary writers of our musical era last year with his solo project Aethiopes. Also, Kenny Siegel has been responsible for the very finest production on some of my favorite albums on past lists, such as Rat Ferreira's Purple Moonlight Pages in 2020. This isn't their first collaboration, with 2019's Hiding Places receiving high scores from people. I found it interesting, but Maps here is more of what I'd want when combining these two creative powerhouses. It feels like touching down on the runway to some haunted island destination. The instrumentals are calming but unsettling at the same time, and Billy sounds like he's become Jack Torrance with an axe at the Overlook Hotel. You've got some of Billy's heaviest hitters in this batch of tracks. You've also got some of his best bars. Hangman, One Look, All It Take to Take Day Measurements, My Taxes Pay, Police Brutality Settlements. It's not all bleakness and rain though. Some of these tracks carry the exact vibe you'd need on a Sunday afternoon. I can already hear these playing over one of those Adult Swim transition slides. There's so many different things to chew on here. This is in my opinion, the greatest thing Billy's worked on, apart from his stuff with Arm & Hammer. His subject matter is magnetic and relatable because of how he portrays the confusing hellscape the modern US has become. It's as if he knows what's coming and doesn't want to tell all of us. He's withholding whatever it is, but he's hinting at some personal doomsday for you specifically. Again, I've seen many listeners crown this as album of the year, and I would not put it past you to do the same. Surprise of the year at number 6, it's Lil Yachty on Let's Start Here. If you'd have told me this guy was going to be on the list, much less this high up on it, prior to the year, I'd have told you to stop talking to me. I don't hate Yachty or anything. In fact, I like his ability to inject joy into a lot of his songs. Poland came out in late 2022, and I actually kind of liked the experimenting he was doing on it, but figured it would be written off as like a joke or throwaway when all was said and done. I didn't think he'd be pushing the boundaries further, especially this much. Let's Start Here is a journey through a lush field of flowers with nothing but new ideas and fearless music making. This is the rare moment where someone switches genres entirely and it actually works. Psychedelic rock? Who saw that coming? He knocked it out of the park though. Shimmering melodies, diverse sound palettes, and bold choices are all helped by Yachty's now trademark, totally out of the box vocal wobbles. This is a team effort, but Yachty's singing legitimately works in tandem with the wild production elements he's brought in, and they truly take you somewhere else. Apparently he had a listening event at a planetarium for the release of this, and if I could only tell my past self one thing, it might be to attend that. There are so many moments on this that feel like soaring through space. It's probably the closest experience I've had to actually taking psychedelics. I never got a chance to. The fantastic guest appearances he employs are the definition of making the most with what you have. This is the type of feature utilization we've been seeing from maybe just like Tyler. And the track list blends together so seamlessly, it's really not meant to be heard outside of all in one big go. For instance, the beginnings of most songs are the ends of others. The transitions are immaculate, and the arrangement shows attention to detail on a sonically affluent scale. If I gotta knock this for anything, it's that it hasn't aged well, especially that dumbass AI cover. Musically, it still holds up, it's just no one is really talking about it anymore. I haven't heard anyone say, oh, I go back to it all the time. Even I kind of forget about it. It was strange, I got a chance to see him live at Camp Flog Gnaw, and mostly everybody wanted him to play the bangers and not any of this. So he's at an interesting position in his career. I wonder where he's gonna go next. At least with this, he managed to do something beautiful, pure, well thought out, genuine. I honestly felt bad for not taking Yachty that seriously as an artist. I, like many others, saw him as a fun rapper at the most. He wanted to be taken seriously with this, and it became his prove it record for all to hold up to the light and examine closely. He convinced me. Lil Yachty is a force when he wants to be, and I'll never forget that now. Number 5 is definitely going to be the weirdest thing you hear from the list. It's Excelsior by Slauson Malone 1. Alright, few albums have changed my life the way A Quiet Farewell 2016 to 2018, Crater Speak, whatever you want to call it, has. Slauson Malone, aka Jasper Marsalis, is a huge creative inspiration for me, and it feels like he has been to a lot of my other all-time favorite artists as well. He's the definition of an innovator and what I believe to be one of the smartest artistic minds of this whole generation. Excelsior was up there on my most anticipated releases of the year, and the singles leading up to it actually felt like we were going to get a relatively more regular sounding final product compared to what we've received in the past. Nope. No, not at all. I am completely blown away and awestruck by this album every time I listen to it. Once again, he has brought something to the table that I've never quite heard before. I'll never forget the first time I heard this. We were driving up to Northern California to visit my mom in October, and we're on that stretch of land where there's just no civilization. Driving down a long, lonely, dark, single-lane highway going a solid 80 to 90 might just be the definitive way to listen to this album. This must be what it sounds like getting abducted by aliens. I'm not talking freaky tentacle monsters, I'm talking little green men who want to examine you on an operating table. It is somehow beautiful, lonely, cinematic, freaky. It sounds like the past and the future colliding all at once, like knights and robots fighting. Robot Pirate Island, if you will. The only major grievance I have to file with this guy is that these standout songs are kind of just the standout songs. Everything else between them just feels like the bridge to get there. Usually they enhance the journey by all being interesting or unexpected. Some even have standout moments themselves, but they are clearly not the shining stars of brilliance that they surround. I'll try to highlight those highs for me right below here. So yeah, that's why as a whole this is an unprecedented listen for me and a really hard one to rank. Some days I feel like this is definitely my favorite album of 2023, other days it's not looking as hot as the night before, and the quirks feel more like flaws. In the way that much of A Quiet Farewell explored race, this traverses topics like gender and masculinity, and it expresses certain feelings that I really identify with. So as much as sometimes I hate this album, sometimes I love this album, this is where I'm going to put it. This is my go-to recommendation to anybody that wants to challenge their ideas of what music even is. If you want something brand new that does not operate by the rules you think you may know about listening to music and are down for something to go anywhere and do anything, show this some of your time. I don't know, tell me what you think. A big riser at number 4, it's Caroline Polachek with Desire, I Want to Turn Into You. Undoubtedly one of my favorite pop records of the decade. My first encounter with Caroline's music, to be honest, but now I'm giddy if I see her involved in anything, anywhere. Apparently she's been in the music industry for a while as part of the duo Chairlift and under different monikers like Ramona Lisa or CEP. I gotta give Rate Your Music props for showing me the light on this one. That's how I discovered Caroline's Island here. This lady can fucking sing. You'll never sing like her, I'm sorry. I was hooked, not even hooked, floored from the very first song. It just gets better and better and better. The entire LP is an electric display of everything Caroline can do. Like, the songwriting here is so fucking good. I like to think she was wearing a cape during recording of this because her voice, it flies. It flies like a superhero over each track. There are so many cool vocal gymnastics and extremely catchy background melodies that have me ready to take a walk to some impossible vacation destination. I think I thought it was doing too much when I first heard it, but now that I've let it settle in, this whole album is a gift that keeps giving. It grows on you every time, and that's saying something because it's great from top to bottom. From the get-go, you'll probably like this. It's floaty and gorgeous at times, but also so groovy and epic. I wish I could talk to you more about how much I love this, but I'm gonna cut it here just to save you the time. If you're listening to any pop album this year, though, make sure it's this one. Another one that shot up my rankings, and sometimes I call this album of the year, I'm not gonna front. It's Lahai by Sampha. This guy has a special place in my heart, man. Lahai feels like the nicest spring day you can imagine. You know, just you, the love of your life, a blanket under the trees. It's like a personal tiny desk concert just for you at a park somewhere. I always think of this old video of him on the roof playing plastic, and that's where I feel like I go during this entire album's runtime. A private sunset rooftop show, or maybe in a garden hammock, or even while lying on the beach during a summer morning where it isn't too hot yet, it's still quiet. Seagulls screeching in the background, seashells, I don't know, I'm getting carried away. Each song starts off small and then blossoms like a different flower, and when I finish each one and pull back the lens, I almost always have a positive reaction to what I heard, a different type of positive reaction somehow. There always seems to be a moment in these tracks where it's elevated to true ascension by some MIDI drums snapping and clicking the porcelain pieces of music together, all to create museum-grade art. It's so stupid. I know I just raved about Caroline Polachek's singing, but Sampha's voice, it's arguably more angelic sounding nowadays than it ever has. This is just too much for me to talk about these two back-to-back. But yeah, his performances here are silky, they're mesmerizing, they're dreamy. I hardly ever feel at peace, but often I find it here in this album. It's full of nostalgia and tranquil reflection, and maybe the closest thing we'll get to a purely musical meditation session. This is it. It's this meme. Hopefully we don't have to wait as long for the next edition of Hypnotherapy from Sampha. I can't do it. Number 2, I'm just gonna go out and say it, is Scaring the Hose by Danny Brown and JPEG Mafia. An oddball pairing for the ages. Two infamous host scarers in their own lane, ready to join forces in a polymerization spell card of an album. Peggy's production mixed with Danny's affinity for rapping on whatever strange samples he can get his voice over makes this a festival of electricity. This corked up lightning in a bottle, and as off-putting as it may sound at times, it's sort of ugly beautiful. It's got a blown out nature to it, yes, but it's also often under a velvety and soulful blanket. It's as hard-hitting as it is somehow transcendental. Danny's flows over these crazy-ass beats are insane. He comes in and surfs on these Peggy instrumentals. Also, this is prime JPEG Mafia right here, so it's gonna be flamethrowers. It's an awesome combination, and 100% the best collab album of the year, and might be of the decade. Please listen to this if you like hip hop or rap. It's so much fun. The most fun I've had all year with any LP, probably. I had a chance to see these guys perform a majority of this record on tour at the Hollywood Palladium, and it was special seeing how much they complement one another. Both artists seem to really embrace what makes them oddballs in the experimental hip-hop scene. They bring the best out of one another on almost every single song here, and like I was saying, the vintage and futuristic just collide here majestically. It's like an old boombox became an evil monster, like a Decepticon. I can't imagine you haven't already checked this out if you're a fan of the genre, but if you haven't, what are you doing? Every time I think number one has been dethroned by any of the prior albums we just discussed, I listen to it again, and it's still the king. A vapor, chillwave, dream pop extravaganza at the hands of Mr. George Clanton, titled Ooh Rap Aya. A shock to the system, and what feels like that one scene with the critic in Ratatouille. This is the best album from the late 90s ever. You want to hear a musical time portal? Want to feel like a kid again at the McDonald's play place on the GameCube demo kiosk? Want to pull a shiny Pokemon card out of a fresh pack? You were never going to get those sweet hits of that exact type of serotonin ever again until this album came along. I understand that this pick isolates people who don't remember that time period I'm describing as very distinctive at all, but to that I say you can shove it, because there's no way this came out in 2023. No way. I really thought about it, and I think I have my happiest memories all year with this playing in the background. Sticking this on during any activity somehow makes it not quite just an activity, but more of a sunny day at the beach. A slip and slide in the backyard. I don't know. What am I doing this video? What is going on? Yeah, what I'm saying is I feel like this exemplifies what I like about music and where it can take me. The way these 100-foot tall walls of sparkly glimmer hit like a semi-truck will send you on an interdimensional flight. It's orgasmic sometimes. There's no other way to describe it. I'm sorry. It feels like taking a hit of the best oxygen of your life and realizing every time you've ever breathed before just doesn't compare. I feel like the project as a whole, much like my other albums of the year, does truly sum up the year for me. It's about coming to terms with the past, acceptance and appreciation for what was, and choosing to move forward. Finding your inner child, feeling their wonder for the world again, but also using what you know now to be better. I believe we all need to grow, but still maintain a sense of discovery through that growth. Striking a balance of awareness with curiosity. And with that in mind, I can become my best self, you can become your best self, and we all can become the best us. Also, we can listen to some fucking bangers every once in a while like this, am I right? Nothing some crispy drums and fat bass hits can't fix, you feel me? Nah, but really, an inability to escape the past with a nervousness to embrace the future? George, man, are you me right now? Anyways, Ooh Rap Aya here is what I'm willing to bet feels like flying away from a volcanic eruption on a jetpack. Have I given you the image of this album yet? Have I given you a fitting description? I think I have. I love this shit so much I even bought the collector's blanket. Fuck yes to this album. Okay? We're just so back, guys. We're so back. That's it, everybody. We're all caught up. Next one I make of these, it'll be 2026. I'll very likely be living in a different fucking time zone. Revisiting these years and the journey I've had within them, and the great music that has joined me on that journey has been quite the experiment. Doing 2020 again was a fever dream. It was kind of weird going back and saying, wow, oh my God, this is really our life. This happened. Then 2021 Like I said in that video, it kind of messed me up. I cried at the end of that one. It genuinely put me under a spell of depression. I had to pull myself out of it just to make the 2022 video, which ended up being not what I expected. That was a long one, but it was necessary, you know, in the same way that healing was. That year was about healing. This one had to have been the funnest, though, probably because it was such a revitalizing year, and it was fun to revisit a time when I was regaining a lust for life. I remember walking slowly on this new path and trying to do the right thing, acknowledging the past while being conscious of the bricks I was laying for the future. Have I mentioned that motif enough? How do I be better? I think I finally found some answers to that question, and I feel like I executed my goals well. This list defines that desire for equilibrium that I had. 2023 was a very positive year for me, maybe one of the best I've had in the last, 10 years. There were multiple wonderful months defined by accomplishment, progress, joyous times, so many good moments shared with loved ones, family, friends, everybody. Hardly did I ever find myself miserable or dissatisfied. Instead, I was triumphant and well established. I got my career going, for instance. I started making good money. I really felt like I fit in at my workplace. I formed great friendships with people who I care about and care about me even to this day. Most importantly, I started enjoying fucking making things again. Like, it's amazing that I made these videos. I would not have had the motivation or the belief in myself to do so 2 years ago, 3 years ago, definitely not 4 years ago. I re-pursued writing, a big passion of mine, by dropping a collection of short stories called Tales from the Exit Door in 2023. I feel like it sums up my sessions in the dark days well. It was very rewarding to get that evil spirit exercised from me finally. I know it's not the most sunshine and rainbows thing. In fact, it's the opposite of that. So watch it if you want to bum yourself out. But yeah, no matter the output, whether it was good or bad, whether it was happy or sad, I was just happy to be feeling creative again and inspired again. I haven't stopped feeling this way since then, and it's 3 years later, baby. I know the natural way of things. I know the dark times are coming again, and I know that I'm gonna have to find some inner strength that I didn't know I had. I hope to watch this series and go back and kind of walk myself through it again in the wake of bad times as a reminder to myself that I've gotten through it over and over again. I can do it again. Yeah, that's enough rambling for now. The past, it's a crutch, guys. It's both crippling and foundational. It sucks, but it made the better you. So don't ever forget that. I love you, whoever you are. I'll see you next time.